Welcome to Biology Made Easy. Today we are looking at solving genetic questions and specifically on family trees for O-levels and secondary school grade 10 to 12. Welcome. This is the question we have. As you can see, the diagram below is the pedigree of a family affected by a phony disease called antipi. Question 1 indicates on the diagram the generations 1, 2, 3. B is the gene involved autosomal or sex-linked. C, explain B with evidence from the diagram. And D, state the genotypes of individual 4, 8, and 9. And do that with evidence. The key has been provided, as you can see. Indicate on the diagram the generations 1, 2, 3. This is the diagram. This and this is generation 1 here, these parents. These offspring also are going to be parents. They are generation 2. And this is generation 3. 1, 2, 3 generations. Is the gene involved autosomal or sex-linked? How would you know whether the gene for this disease antipi running through the family is autosomal or sex-linked? Now, if it's sex-linked, you see that the males are more affected than the females. There's nothing that shows this. As you can see in the shot, this is part of a family tree of Queen Victoria affected by a sex-linked gene, hemophilia. And you can see that it's the males that are affected. That is, the red bits are the males. The females are carriers, that's the green. But a carrier, you won't be able to see from the person's phenotype, that's a carrier. So this is the phenotypes we have here. And you see there's no pattern of the disease being very common in the males. So the gene involved is not sex-linked, it's autosomal. If it's sex-linked, as I said, more males will be affected than females because this is the chromosomes for females, this is for males. The Y chromosome is short, so very few genes are found on them. Now, a defective gene like gene A, if it appears on an X chromosome, then it affects every male. Every male with this will be affected. But you see the females, look at the females are carriers. The gene is there, but you will not see it in the phenotype of the female that the gene is there. So sex-linked characters are really indicated more in the males than in the females, who tend to be carriers. Now, if the female is homozygous, those females, if the disease is a very bad one, the females are homozygous and they abort early. And even if they don't abort early, they die very early to be counted when they are in the homozygous state in the females. We have explained B and C with this. Now, these states, you are supposed to state the genotype of 4, 8, and 9. Now, you will be able to find the genotypes of 4, 8, 9 when we trace what is happening right from the parents. So, if you look at individual 1 and 2, they are affected to produce a child that is not affected. 1 and 2 must be heterozygous to produce this child. And 1 and 2 must be heterozygous, and the gene must be a dominant gene. So we are regarding the gene as a dominant gene A. So the gene is a dominant gene A. If you have individuals with genotype big A, or big A, small a, these individuals will be affected with antipi. And the individuals that are not affected must be small a, recessive, homozygous. For individual 1 and 2 to produce a child that is affected, they are heterozygotes. And these are the gametes. If you want to cross them here, this is the child 4. If you want to put the gametes in a Punnett square, we have the male gametes here, female gametes here. If you cross them, you have this and this individuals. And this individual is the child 4, not affected. It's a homozygous recessive individual. Now we are also supposed to look for the genotypes of individual 8 and 9. And individuals 8 and 9 have parents 6 and 7. So parents 6 and 6 is affected, and individuals affected are this, big A, or big A, small a. So this is individual, big A, small a. 7 is not affected, and not affected is small a. So this is not affected. These are the gametes. This is the Punnett square. This is for the male. This is the gametes for the female. This, and that, this and that. These are the individuals that can be produced. This individual, big A, small a, is affected. And big A, small a is affected. And this is this individual. So the genotype of 9 is big A, small a. And the genotype of 8, who is not affected, is small a. So we've got the individuals and their genotype. We have 9 is affected, it has big A, small a. 8 is small a. So that is it. We finish with D. In our second question, we have the diagram shows a family tree for a condition known as Neil-Patella syndrome, NPS. The family tree is there. The key is also given out there. And the question A says, state whether NPS is controlled by a dominant or recessive allele. Explain which evidence from the family tree confirms your answer to A. C. Explain what the chances are for a third child of parents 6 and 7 having NPS. You may use genetic diagrams to help your explanation. To state whether NPS is controlled by a dominant or recessive allele, first look at the family tree and work out, is it sex-linked or autosomal? As we have already explained, sex-linked affects a lot of males, as we said in our first question. So this is not a sex-linked allele or gene we are dealing with. It's autosomal. Now, if it's autosomal, is it dominant or recessive? This individual and this individual produces these 3 individuals, none of them showing the disease. Well, this individual not showing the disease marries this individual and shows the disease. So the disease, if it was dominant, it would have revealed itself already. So it's recessive, hidden. But we need to prove that. So we are not stating whether it is recessive or dominant autosomal yet. We are going to explain from evidence here. So our argument starts like this. If NPS is autosomal dominant A, then individuals big A, small a are all NPS. And small a are non-NPS. It therefore means that individual 1 and 2, look at individual 1, is NPS. So if NPS is a dominant allele, then individual 1 is big A or big A, small a. And individual 2 here is non-NPS, small a. Now, these individuals produce individual 6 here, and individual 6 is non-NPS, is like this. And individual 7 is non-NPS, is like this. That's a non-NPS. And they produce child 8. Child 8 is NPS. But look at the individuals are like this. They produce child 8, and child 8 should be non-NPS. But child 8 is NPS, which is either this or this. If NPS is a dominant allele, then child 8 should be this. Big A or big A, small a, and not this. Therefore, NPS is not a dominant gene. It's not an autosomal dominant allele or gene. So NPS is autosomal recessive, and we want to prove that. So we go to answer this question. NPS is autosomal recessive. So we are proving that MPS is a recessive, autosomal recessive. We are proving this. So if MPS is autosomal recessive, then big A or big A small a is non-MPS and small a is MPS. Therefore, individual 1, which is MPS, is small a here. And individual 2, which is individual 2 is non-MPS, is big A or big A small a. And they produce individual 6, which is a non-MPS. This is a non-MPS. This big A small a is non-MPS. Individual 6 and marries individual 7, and they have child 8. This is child 8 with MPS. This is MPS. So we have proved that MPS is a recessive allele. Now, explain what the chances are for a third child of parents 6 and 7 having MPS. So these are parents 6 and 7. And here we've seen that parent 6 has this genotype, big A, small a. That's parent 6. And parent 7 also has big A, small a, because they are all non-MPS. So this is parent 6, this is parent 7. These are their gametes, and we've written the male gametes here, the female gametes here. There's a Punnett square. This gamete and this gamete produces this individual, this and that produces this and that produces individual, this and that produces individual. So you see that this individual is MPS. Here, MPS is a recessive allele. So 1 out of the 4 will be MPS. So the chances of a third child having MPS is 1/4, which is 25% chance. Well, this is what we have for today. If the lessons have been useful, please give us your likes and please subscribe. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.